The content discussed in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or mortgage advice. Always consult with a licensed professional before making any decisions regarding mortgages or financial matters.
Welcome to the Canadian Mortgage Show. Here are mortgage professionals Alex Pang and Alex Shanks to cut through the BS and educate Canadians on all things mortgages and real estate.
Of course, I would argue that it's tough on young people right now. That, yes, they've enjoyed certain parts of life, but real estate prices alone have made this very challenging to follow the Wealthy Barber advice. The cost of living in general has run hot the last 5 to 7 years in particular. So it's tough. To squeeze that 10 and 15% that the Dave Chiltons of the world advise you to save, it's not easy. And we're seeing these high costs of living reflect themselves in so many ways. People having fewer kids. We were trending down anyway, but now we're trending down a little sharper angle because people are saying, I can only afford one, I can only afford two. All kinds of things like that are happening. Hopefully we can get costs under control. And of course, the big thing we need to do is get incomes rising at a greater than inflation rate pace. And that means we have to have the productivity gains that so many economists.
Welcome to episode 83 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. Alex Pang here alongside Alex Shanks. Alex, this is take two. We have a special guest who we tried last week, didn't work out. The universe said no, connection said no, but we have back on David Chilton, the Wealthy Barber, and former Dragon of the Dragon's Den. David, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed the 6.5 minutes last time. I thought that was a highlight of my career. It really was. Now, Alex, I got to razz you. You blew the word welcome. You actually stumbled on the first word of the podcast. We got to edit. We got to edit that. You can't bubble the first word. Anyway, no, it's great to see you guys again.
That's why Alex does all the intro reads. I don't do any of them because I don't want to mess up.
You don't want to mess them up.
I'm going to wait until we're going.
I thought when he blew that, we were going to have to set it up next week again. We were going to go to week 3.
Funny story is I did an intro once and I introduced myself as Alex Shanks. Alex Pang, I'm like, I spend way too much time with you online though. So,
there's some deep psychological issues there when you start doing that. Okay. I don't even want to get involved in analyzing that.
I know that you said last time you agreed to come on the podcast there, Dave, more just because we had the same names so that you didn't have to remember each other's names. We made it as easy as possible for you.
Well, I like that. And it's funny. You have different last names and not even your partner can keep them straight clearly. So it's good that we've gone with the same first name. I like it.
Yeah. But exactly. Another funny story is Alex's wife. Can we name it on the pod? Her name is Jordan. My oldest son's name is Jordan. So somehow we are connected, and it's your Jordan, my Jordan.
We get a lot of times when we do things like maybe I'll order something or book, like when we were building our house and we would have inspectors come out, they would always come to me and be like, "Hey, Jordan, what's going on?" I'm like, "Nope, the boss is over there. I'm Alex."
Do you guys hang out socially too?
We live on separate islands. Well, I live on Vancouver Island in BC. He lives on the mainland, and so we have hung out with each other. And that's, again, we like social media. Obviously, we all got drawn in together here because of social media, which is, we were talking a bit off of there. It's just a wild time, and like you said, Dave. You've been doing this for a long time, and so how has it been like learning some of these, like seeing some of these exchanges?
It's crazy. I was saying to you guys off air, it's amazing now you can put out a clip. We put out a clip last week with Ben Felix and we had 400,000 people watch it in Canada within a couple of days. And that kind of reach that a social media platform can provide, unheard of, obviously 10 and 15 and 20 years ago. Now, that being said, so is the competitive arena. Everybody's producing content. So trying to rise above the noise and capture people's attention is exceedingly difficult. I was lucky to have a head start with the brand. The brand was well known, and then helped us get us momentum. We went with Instagram and Facebook and short clips initially with me just chatting about general financial planning topics. And then that led to the podcast, which has gone well. I think an advantage that we've had is we're not monetizing it at all. So we're not taking advertising. We're not doing lead gen. We're just doing it to try to help people. And that's helped the momentum. And no, it's been fun. I've learned a lot. You meet a lot of nice people. And of course, the comment sections can be quite wild. It's unbelievable, some of the stuff that comes out. I have a lot of people tell me I'm looking older. And I'm always like, I am older. Like I wrote the book 40 years ago almost. Of course I look older. But in general, it's been a great experience. I've enjoyed it.
It's a wild, social media is wild that way. Like, I mean, that's how me and Alex did connect, was from TikTok. And back when we started in 2022, 2021, in Canada for mortgage brokers, there was probably like 30 people maybe on social media doing it. Now it's like everything you swipe, which again, like you said, it's great. But like I don't do as much of the shorts and reels anymore, other than like the clips and stuff. But like I used to I'd post on 3 videos a day. It was like freaking work.
Yeah, it is. And your point's a good one. The competitive landscape in your particular arena, mortgage brokers and real estate agents, has gone flying, like to the point that it's hard to believe how many are out there. Some of them, by the way, I must say, are very good. And some of them have done a wonderful job of building audiences. I mean, obviously, a lot of people know Ron Butler and what he's been able to accomplish with his social media presence. And he's got a very unique style, obviously, with the harsher delivery and the bolder statements and the anger and the foul language. But he's also very sharp, and he's very much in touch with the front line. And I've enjoyed getting to know him. But I think for the consumer, it's very good in terms of the quantity of information. And there's a lot of quality information. The problem they have is, how do they discern who's full of crap and who's got the quality, who really knows what he or she is talking about? That's a tough one for the average person. And again, if you have a brand like I was lucky to have going in, that helps. But in general, that's very difficult. What you guys have done is, I think, the winning proposition. You've stuck with it. So you've been doing it for a long time. You're on episode 83. You had the shorts. Over time, people get to know you. There's a personal connection that develops. There's an element of trust, and you built your brand this way through consistency and longevity. And that really is the only formula left for people.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, when we talk about like AI and all that stuff going forward, like that's what, like, brand is the only thing that's going to be built. And it's, for me, it was always like, how can I get out to the masses? Again, I could try and do seminars. I can try and do webinars, but if I had, I took it this way. I posted my very first video and I got 100 views, and I was like, "Holy shit, 100 views!" even if 1%.
No, I get it. That's great.
And that's it. And again, from there, I did get. I'm not going to lie. When I first started getting addicted to the views, you're like, "Oh my god!" I had a couple of videos that did 10 million. I was able to correlate
10 million.
They didn't do any deals though, and that's where I really stripped it back. Of like, Alex, like, again, you're here for the people, giving them information. Who cares about the views?
Right. That's interesting. 10 million, though, is impressive. Way to go. That's
very impressive. Like, I have my TikTok that is kind of like a two-parter, where one is business, the other is a personal part of me. I like doing dad jokes. And we don't know that 99% of social media is recycled, repurposed, whatever. It's not original.
Right.
So I see some funny stuff that I've like dad jokes. I'm like, that's pretty darn funny. So I take it, refilm it myself. And this is where I get like, some videos are going like 30, 40. I think when one went to 1 million, and it was a crazy one. And I didn't get any business out of it, but I was hoping to, it's like catching the fish. Hopefully they stick around.
But I think you might have indirectly, because it deepens the connection with the loyal followers you have. They see another side of you. You hopefully bring some joy to their day. So that's the advantage of, again, furthering those relationships down the road. But again, your numbers, those are very impressive. That must have been a pretty funny joke.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where I don't do any talking, but it's kind of the dad joke that with the text,
right?
And I'm just kind of staring off in the screen, like, and then if I find it funny, someone else would find it funny, and those ones actually get more traction versus our business talk, where we spend so much time with a script that's good for 30 seconds, and we only get like 500 views. So I'm like,
that's funny.
It's the way it is with social media. But we should dive into the book. I mean, you recently re-released updated version of the book. You're a Detroit Lions fan?
Fanatic. Like, we go to every game. Yeah, we are fanatics. We have seasons tickets. We're Detroit. Grew up in the Lions. My whole family, my son, my daughter, my father, everybody. We are all in on the Lions. And really the Pistons, the Red Wings, the Tigers. We're Detroit sports. I grew up in Sarnia, lived there in the summers. My parents were from there. So, of course, you're right on the Michigan border. And I follow those sports closely. And when I first wrote the book, all the way back in 88 for 89 release, and I talked about loving the Detroit sports teams and hating the Blue Jays, the early reviewers said, why would you do that? Like, it's going to be aimed at the Blue Jay audience. And I said, exactly. You're going to stand out more by confronting them, by having a conflict with them, than by going down the exact same path. And I think for the most part, it worked to the book's advantage. And again, it was more authentic because at that point I was trying to represent parts of me in the various characters.
And that's awesome. You just have to be authenticity is the most important part. And again, yeah, you could have been like, oh, I'm a Blue Jays fan. I love them. Like it's not who you are and stuff.
No, for sure. Hate the Jays.
But I will say this: Seattle, it's the Lions got to do something here soon. Hopefully, you guys can win something again quickly.
I agree that the window's closing. There's no doubt, and we're already up against payroll problems. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. A little depressing.
I mean, Alex and I are both Seahawks fans, and I have season tickets to Seahawks. I share it with my brother-in-law, and we recently, we were on this crazy run to the Super Bowl, and
yeah, fantastic.
I went to the first game with my son, who just turned 19, by the way, and it was his first NFL game live. And I'm like, okay, wow, this is different than going to a Canucks game. Canucks, yeah, you have 18,000.
Kind of playoffs is great. He's going to expect everything like that now, though, Alex.
Yeah. So we have.
I'm a little worried, by the way, that you have seasons tickets, and this is the first time you've taken your own son.
I know.
What kind of father are you?
It's just going downhill. I'm like, this is not the expectation. Like, I'm a Canucks fan. We've never won. We just want to win one in our life. We don't need a dynasty. However you win it, you can trap your way to a cup. I don't care, but yeah. And then Alex was able. I went to the San Fran game. It was amazing. Alex, he went to the NFC Championship game, didn't you?
Ah, good for you.
It was with me and my wife, and it was me and Alex were gonna go together, but then he's like, "Oh, maybe I should save it." So he let me take my wife, and it was crazy. It was.
No, I mean, to me, the highlight of as a football fan, an NFL fan, CFL fan, is to be at the home conference championship game. I would much rather be at that game than the Super Bowl, where you have a mixed fan base. Yeah. When you're in the energy of your own building to go to the Super Bowl, like you were, Alex, 100%. It doesn't get any better than that. That is the ultimate thrill. And of course, that team came through in spades, and they're going to be very tough again this year too.
Yeah, so very Dave, tough. Speaking of, as we stick in the NFL, who's your favorite all-time Detroit Lion? Is it Barry Sanders?
Yeah, I do love Barry Sanders. Amon-Ra St. Brown now is probably my favorite player, but I do love Barry for sure. And you guys are too young to remember Billy Sims. He was a running back when I was relatively young, but those three would probably be my favorite all-timers.
Nice. And that's I wasn't going to bring this up, but we talked about like you updating the book and everything, and we were joking when we tried to do this last week. I had just had my birthday, and we were like, "Oh, Dave, I think you have a book that is actually older than I am."
No, it's crazy. I can't believe how fast life has gone. I mean, the original came out in '89, and you start thinking, "Holy smokes, that's 37 years ago." And of course, a lot has changed over the 37 years. It's interesting that the principles of the book have stayed relatively the same. You still have to spend less than you make. Let's not kid ourselves, and pray yourself first is still the most important of all concepts. But a lot of the nuances, the details have changed with RSPs. Now we have TFSAs, we have FHSAs, all of those types of things. Index funds and ETFs have become available and are much, much better products for most people because of their low fees. Now you've got online platforms available. So there's a lot of new things that have come in. So the principles stayed the same, the details changed. And of course, I would argue that it's tough on young people right now. That, yes, they've enjoyed certain parts of life, but real estate prices alone have made this very challenging to follow the Wealthy Barber advice. The cost of living in general has run hot the last 5 to 7 years in particular. So it's tough. I mean, to squeeze that 10 and 15% that the Dave Chiltons of the world advise you to save, it's not easy. And we're seeing these high costs of living reflect themselves in so many ways. People having fewer kids. We were trending down anyway, but now we're trending down a little sharper angle because people are saying, I can only afford one, I can only afford two. All kinds of things like that are happening. Hopefully we can get costs under control. And of course, the big thing we need to do is get incomes rising at a greater than inflation rate pace. And that means we have to have the productivity gains that so many economists are talking about. They're right. That's the big thing Canada has to achieve over the next 5 to 10 years. It's gains in productivity through R&D, through corporate investment in their people, et cetera. What policies can we put in?
I think I saw a thing on founders, like for Canadian founders of starting businesses and stuff. Like anyone that starts a company here just moves it instantly to the US. Like we do not keep people. We don't keep smart people here. And that's the negative. And I like to hear your thoughts on this, Dave, I believe like us, our generation is definitely like in some case have it harder than the past generation. but I do think making money nowadays is easier than it was in the past. There's more opportunity if you're willing to do the work. Like, again, you might have to be working 4 jobs, but you could start a business so easily now. Again, social media, online. I believe if you have the right drive, I think you can make income easier. But again, that income used to do this much and now it only does this much.
Yeah, I think you said a lot of that well. I do think in general it's tougher, but you're right. With what's happened with not just social media, but the digital era in general, there are a lot of opportunities, and young people who have entrepreneurial mindsets are really in a good spot right now, with AI probably making it even better. And if you're willing to throw yourself into it and learn all of this and do some innovative things, great things can happen. But remember, a lot of people will compellingly argue, I don't have time for that. I've got a traditional job, 9 to 5 and 2 kids. And by the time I manage my life, contemplating adding an extra income through an extra employment opportunity or through creating my own business, probably not going to happen. So, I mean, you can see both sides of the argument. I will say on a positive note that even though it is very difficult on the cost front, I'm very sympathetic to young Canadians right now. There are a lot of things that aren't getting enough attention on the positive front. Think how much more the average young Canadian, not all of them, but the average young Canadian has traveled now compared to previous generations. It's crazy. I'll give you an example. I grew up in a normal income family, high school teacher, then principal father. Mother didn't work outside of the home. She was a volunteer with the hospital auxiliary. I went on one trip in my life, one, as I grew up until age 18, 19. Now you're seeing people travel much more. We're connected, obviously. A lot of things have become less expensive relative to incomes too. So there are positives, but as I mentioned earlier, the darn cost of real estate alone has made financial planning quite challenging. So Alex, to your point, if you can add extra income, what a huge advantage. And it's nice to see people like Ben Felix, one of the big voices out there in the investment and finance space, saying, hey, we can talk about investing and saving. Don't forget to try to make more money. To your point, Alex, right. Because that's still the best way to free up this money to do things. But again, not as easy as we sometimes make it sound. You two both have the entrepreneurial bent. Not everybody does.
Yeah, everyone wants that, like YouTube. And again, we're talking about they want that quick win. If I'm going to buy Bitcoin, I'm going to invest in a penny stock, that $100 that I saved up, and I'm going to become a millionaire. And again, it's like, you'd be much better saving up $4,000, maybe taking some training, increasing your income. Again, putting $50 away every month. Hey, that's amazing. If that's all you can do, but that money and effort probably would actually be spent better elsewhere. And that's where I remember reading Ben Felix when I was younger on that stuff.
Yeah. And you know, what's interesting is that you're still investing. So if you're setting aside 50 and 100 a month, to your point, you're saving it to take a course that you think can make a positive difference in your income. They're the same thing. You're investing, but instead of in the stock market, you're coming back and investing in yourself. And in many instances, that can be a very good move. Look at all the people in the real estate space, the mortgage brokerage space, who've taken courses on marketing, on connecting, on different things, and have ended up rising up and doing better and better. So those opportunities are there. But again, let's not be naive. It's expensive out there. Whether it's going to a restaurant, taking your kids to do something, grabbing a flight, just trying to survive, for heaven's sakes, it's expensive.
One thing that Alex and I have talked about is that this is probably, I don't know if you can relate to this, Dave, but when I grew up, we were all pushed towards going to university because the white collar jobs was was seen as the elitist thing. And then anybody who was like a struggling student, they would go into trades because you were seen as a loser. But now with AI, the rise of AI taking over white collar jobs, it looks like it's shifting now towards almost the blue collar jobs are going to be the next wave of millionaires, because AI, as much as advanced it is, it's not going to, we still need our electrician, plumber, carpenter, whatever. Like, do you agree with that? Like,
yeah, I do. And I mean, I think it's unfortunate that society developed some of those feelings in the first place and looked down on some of the blue collar workers, because many of them were smarter than a lot of the white collar workers and chose really good paths. A lot of my friends and their kids went that route, have done very well, have added tremendous value. And to your point, Alex, you're going to see AI compete more directly, at least initially, with a lot of the white collar jobs, including what we perceive to be the upper echelon ones. But we're always going to need the plumber, the electrician. I've always loved the trades. I've always felt that they provide a great income and great occupation. And again, I've had a lot of friends go in. I will say the one downside to the trades is that a lot of them have become physically beaten up over the years.
Yes.
From working physically for 20 and 30 and 40 years, my brother-in-law, others, it's worn them down. Their back in particular, but other injuries. But there's also been a lot of positives, a lot of camaraderie in many cases, depending on what environment they're in with coworkers, et cetera. The incomes have been quite good, et cetera. And again, the future opportunities, I think, there are excellent.
Yeah, it's almost like you have like in trades, like your body has a certain shelf life where your body can handle that, get that kind of beating, and you either adapt and morph into the management role or become a business owner where you hire the young people, or you end up teaching at the colleges or the trade schools or something like that. Like, I guess that's
absolutely. And I've seen that path, both those paths followed many times. So you're right.
And that's, I mean, we're talking about the school there for sure, Alex. Like, again, like when I was younger, like my parents did not force me to university. That was like, they didn't, my dad was a commercial diver there, Dave. So like my dad didn't fully want me to do that. But I remember I did my first job out on a boat once. I was 16 and I got like $10,000 in a month. And I'm like, whoa, like, I don't think I could go to school. I'm not going to go work somewhere for $10 an hour. But again, like during like the older generation, it was like, hey, go to school, get an arts degree. Like the stuff that we were trying to tell people to do, there was no jobs for it. There was never going to be jobs for it. It was feeding the universities to make jobs there, which with no immigration coming now, like it's also changing that drastically. And that's where
what kind of diving did your dad do? Commercial diving, but what's he diving for?
Mostly for seafood. So on the BC coast, we mostly actually did seafood harvesting. I actually almost went to Seneca, which is like not far from Sarnia, I think, right?
That's right.
And so they have Ontario, a massive dive like school there. And I almost went there actually for my schooling. But we mostly did it's called gooey ducks. If our producer can put a gooey duck on the screen, it'd be hilarious. It's the largest clam in the world.
Asian food.
And yeah, exactly. Sea urchins and sea cucumbers.
One thing, we're going back to your book, that your famous saying is pay yourself first. Is it still possible in this day and age, in this generation?
It is. I mean, again, I admit it's harder to save right now with cost, but you know what's interesting? When I first popularized that, I did not come up with it. I'm always given credit for coming up with it, but it was out there already. But the book popularized it. But when I first came up with it, interestingly, I'm an even bigger fan of that line now because I've had 37 years of seeing the evidence of how effective it is. All of these people sending through their success stories of taking the money off the top. Maureen, my assistant, and I were looking at a few weeks ago where two people reached out after reading the updated version, altered their plans to pay yourself first, and what they've achieved already in only 3 or 4 months in terms of paying down a credit card debt and building up an RSP/TFSA effort. It's amazing. You get the money off the top of the paycheck directly out of the bank account before you have an opportunity to blow it. You take human nature out of play. It's amazing how effective that can be. Now, the problem now compared to way back in 1989 is ubiquitously available credit. So while people may pay themselves first to opt to maximize their TFSA, on the flip side, they're overusing their credit card or the line of credit and building the liability side. So it's having that discipline to pay yourself first, but still spending only what's left instead of dipping in to all this available credit. And oh my gosh, it's hard now. Temptation is everywhere. The algorithms are hitting us at all time, trying to get us to spend money. Again, psychologically, it's more difficult now than it was when I was a young man too.
Yeah, and I know one thing that we talked about it last time, Dave, but I want to bring it up. I know before you actually wrote The Wealthy Barber, you were going to schools like university. I think you were teaching people about finances. Is that correct? Is that what you were doing before?
Way back then, I actually taught teachers financial planning before I wrote The Wealthy Barber, and that really helped. I mean, frankly, it's what gave me the confidence that my casual delivery style would resonate, that using stories and using humor was better than using charts and graphs and spreadsheets, although there weren't spreadsheets. With the second book, the updated version that you two listened to, I did something else. I went back out to the target audience, and I sat down with as many as I possibly could to go right through their personal finances. What are you dealing with? What's your spending summary like? Where do you sit right now in terms of assets? You're building a down payment. There's nothing like sitting with the front line. What are your concerns? What are your hopes? What are your fears? What are your dreams? A lot of what you see in the book came from that 6 months of pre-research. And then, as I mentioned, I think the last time we chatted briefly, when I'm writing a book, I test it as I go. So everything is run by the target audience. Did you understand it? Did you enjoy it? Are there other questions you want asked? So putting these two approaches together, I think, has worked very well. The downside is, oh my gosh, it takes a lot of time. And so when I hear about people saying, oh, I wrote a book in 3 months, I wrote a book in 5 months, I'm 1.5 to 2 years if you count the pre-research, full time, 50 hours a week. But I think that's also why the book ends up, I hope, capturing people and being strong in the word of mouth. But it is a lot of time. And of course, the editors are pulling their hair out because they're dealing with all the changes.
The credit and income. This is where, for one, high school is 100% like horrible, not explaining, hey, what happens? We talk about credit in Canada, like you need to have credit. You need to have a credit score. It's way different compared to the US of like our scores doesn't really affect our interest rates all that much. And people put like a really big weight on it, but it's like, who cares? I'd rather not see someone with a credit card if they don't understand it than them having an 800 credit score. Like, who cares? And that's
I'll tell you something very interesting about the alterations that we've made to the curriculum in most areas in Canada. We have put a good effort in at the government level to start teaching personal finance in high school, but it's not working. I can tell you, dealing with the university students, the graduates coming out of colleges, et cetera, they don't know much, if any more, than they did 30 and 40 years ago when I started, despite the fact they're exposed to some of these things in high school. What does that mean? We have to change the approach. So they're on the right front in terms of bringing it into the curriculum, but they're not doing it properly. Should they be using more stories, that type of thing, as opposed to, again, just dry delivery? I'm not sure. But whatever they're doing right now is not resonating, is not being picked up at the level I'd like to see it at.
I think that's really we're fighting uphill on this is the Instagram culture.
I think that's true. But you
nice
have to
new house, new car, new device, and everyone's like, it gives the I want that. You know, that it doesn't matter because, you know, talking about finances is boring. For a lot of people. But that new whatever, that new thing that's been floating around, that's coming up on their feeds, it creates that desire. It's like a dopamine, like, you know, it's like crack. I want it.
You're financial, bang on.
Yeah, be damned. You know, like that's why, like my son's, you know, like I said, he turned 19, and I told him about, like, hey, I listened to your book. You should listen to it, download the app, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of rolls his eyes. And I already know that, you know, like as a parent, you want them to have financial literacy, to have the same knowledge as you have, but you can't make them drink the water, right? So,
but you know, the key thing we found with the Wealthy Barber over the years, and this, by the way, was true even when I wrote the original version, people are like, I don't read that much, etc. You just need to get them started. Once the book pulls them in and they realize it's a story and there's characters and humor and not charts and graphs, they tend to go on and finish and learn from it. But going back to your initial point there, you're so bang on. That Instagram culture and coming at you, remember, professionals are constantly using those algorithms to hit our weak spots, to make us desire to spend, to make us covet, and they can customize it now. So what are you most likely to give into? Well, in your case, it might be fishing. And we will show you every new fishing rod, and we will package it in a way that is most likely to appeal to what we know you've bought in the past, et cetera. Oh my gosh. Then you've got one click. We've taken all the friction out of buying. It used to be you had to actually go to your wallet. You had to enter all your credit card information. You had to mail things in, et cetera. The fact that it's so easy now has worked against us to the nth degree.
It pays. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Stare in your eyes and it pays. None of this is healthy. And it's funny, you hear all of the people in the high-tech industry brag about how they've reduced friction. In many instances, that's worked against society, not for society. In fact, you look at social media in general, I think it's been a net negative for society.
Oh, it's great for business owners, and obviously we use it, but like it is like I try and limit anything on it. I'm trying to only do business stuff on it. And unless you're using it to me for your business or to grow, I like to learn stuff, what's going on with political, what's going on with finances. But if you're just scrolling the other stuff, like it is horrible for you. Like it has no benefit.
I agree with you. And it's amazing how it's a unbelievable time suck. We've all gone on and thought we were going to flick through some videos for 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, 53 minutes later, we're going, what the heck happened? And to your point, have you seen the research on how little you remember those videos almost immediately after seeing them? It's stunning. If they say, go back 3 videos in your head and tell me what you watched, most people can't do it. They can remember only the one they just saw. And so we're really, truly not adding any value. We're dumbing down our minds. We're wasting our time that could be used more constructively. Now, to your point, Alex, a lot of people are watching things and learning about their career, politics. I mean, there are a lot of smart people producing videos now. If I'm going to learn personal finance, I mean, in Canada, we've mentioned Ben Felix, we've got the Plain Bagel. There are some brilliant communicators, but all of those just short reels that are just nothing, boy, oh boy, they can suck you in.
Yeah, that's why we like the podcast. Is it's like, for me, I found with social media, it's doom that brings the views, and I really just more, again, we have to talk about negative stuff on here, but you can bring like the good stuff, like you talked about, Dave, of, hey, people have actually got to travel. Where if all we were trying to do is just get clicks, we just talk about doom. Real estate's horrible, investing's horrible, and that would drive the views, but it doesn't benefit anyone.
No, and unfortunately, I've learned very quickly, you're so right. Not just negative highlights, but if you want controversy is what drives views. Just pure education doesn't work particularly well. Alex, you mentioned you get 500 views for some of the really good substantive content, but you can get 100,000, 500,000 for humor. And so where do you walk the line? And I think you're right about the podcast. The challenge with podcasts now is there's so darn many of them. And of course, people still only have 24 hours in a day and really 15, 2, 3, 4 available to listen. So are we going to squeeze each other out because we're all producing so much content? Even if we're trying to help, you can only listen to so many. So it's an interesting world right now, and watching where it goes over the next 10 years with AI and all the slop that it's putting out there. And it's going to be fascinating. I want to stay alive as long as possible. I'm old because I want to see all this and how it plays out. I'm very curious. And I look at the U.S. debt situation. And their debt, especially if you count unfunded liabilities relative to the GDP, and you go, this is not going to have a happy ending. So what does it all lead to? Are we going to have a highly inflationary environment? We would ever have a technical default? Doubtful, but could happen. So I love watching it all. And I've enjoyed, by the way, coming back and doing all this, connecting with Canadians. Again, I'm going back out and doing some speaking in the fall. The feedback to the book has been outstanding. And I'll tell you, one big advantage nowadays is you hear from people. And so in the old days, you write a book, you don't even hear from your listeners. You don't even hear from your readers. What, are they going to mail you something occasionally? Now they can email you. They can go to your site and post something. They can ask you more questions. What did they like? All of these things are very helpful. You take some criticism too. In these days and times, you have to be thick-skinned. I mean, you guys are out there with your podcast and shorts. If you can't take criticism, you better be careful because you're going to get it.
We learned something on social that any publicity is good publicity. So if you have something controversial, don't be vanilla. If you're posting something, pick a side. Whether people agree with you or not, pick a side.
Well, we talked about Ron Butler. That's what he's been able to do so well. I learned a lesson in Dragon's Den. My first year on Dragon's Den, it was when Twitter was following TV live, and you'd had literally 10,000 people posting. And I took some heat. You're always going to get criticized. That guy he's ugly. He's that. Like, you're going to take it. And it's not fun. And Arlene said to me at the end of the year, let me give you a great piece of advice. Do not try to grow into taking this better. Do not try to slowly develop a thick skin. Flip a switch and get one now. And you know what? It sounds easy, but I actually did it. I listened to that and I went, I think she's right about this. If I try to slowly get better at this, it's not going to help me. I need to just say, I've got to be able to handle this. I went back year 2 and the criticisms didn't bother me at all. And I just learned that it's all part of the game. If you're going to be out there trying to make a difference, you're going to have your critics. And some of them, by the way, have valid points. And you can learn from those criticisms, but it's a little harsh and people are not kind in a lot of instances. And women take it way harder than we do. They get hit way harder. I mean, society is still sexist in many ways. And when you look at a lot of the females posting on social media, they get attacked for their appearance in ways that we don't. And it's unfair, it's inappropriate. And boy, you have to have a thick skin when you're getting hit on that front. So yeah, there's definitely negatives to this. There's no doubt about it. But in general, I've enjoyed being back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter, talking about scrolling social media. I'm on Twitter mainly to collect content for our pod because I follow the big guys. I follow you. I follow Ron Butler. I follow the Looney Hour guys. And and I do get sucked in by some stuff about the politics, the Iran war, and I learned some stuff. But I get a lot of other stuff too, like, oh, like, hey, I'm interested in this, and all of a sudden, whoa! And the algorithm knows that I paused the motion of the scroll for like 2 seconds.
That's
and
right.
It reads that I'm interested in it, and all of a sudden, all these ads come in. I'm like, Darn
You
it.
know, you mentioned the Looney Hour guys, and I find it interesting that when you see the people in finance, can be real estate, can be personal finance, you see the people breaking through, male, female, U.S., Canadian, doesn't matter. On a good news front, for the most part, they tend to be passionate. They're putting out enough material, and you can tell by watching them, they love this stuff. They actually are trying to make a positive difference. Are there exceptions? Absolutely. Some people trying to sell not so good courses, etc. But there are a lot of good people too. And to your point, you listen to them, you can learn from them. How did they communicate? What examples did they use, etc. I mean, it's really a lot of fun. You look at the Looney Hour guys; those guys are nice guys. And so you're listening to them, you can tell they're genuinely good guys. They like to chatter back and forth. They've got good sense of humor. And I think in Canada, we're lucky. We have a lot of really good people in these spaces. We've had Daniel Foch on our podcast, and he's got great material. He's a very bright guy who's very good at research. Yeah, I mean, Ben
I get a lot of my material from him.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you're not stealing from Daniel, you're a weirdo. I'd be stealing from him if I were in your field too.
I was like, I love these graphs. It's going to be on a pod.
And Ben Rabideau, these guys are all super sharp people. So of course you're going to learn from them and take from them. That wouldn't be unwise if you didn't.
I mean, anything in life I've always tell people like Alex, they're always like, Alex, how did you get where you are? I'm like, well, I take what someone else does. I make it a little bit better. Like, I'm not an inventor. I can improve on things. It's you take what other people have done and you just keep adding to it. And that's where I can tell when if there's ever like a mortgage broker course going on, I can tell because I get a bunch of follows on social media from a bunch of mortgage brokers. I'm like, oh, they're going to my social media and be like, well, they try and copy what I do, which is fine. But also it only works if you're being your true self. If you're trying to like be a chameleon, it's not going to work. You can take something if it is yourself. And that's where, again, to me, I was probably the shyest person ever. If you told me 5 years ago, I'd be talking to like thousands of people, wouldn't have happened. I'm like, no way. I ain't getting up on stage for anything. But I believe doing this stuff like improves just for life in general.
But you know, it's interesting too. You take some of these good ideas and you're saying you can make them better. Even if you don't make them better, you may be bringing them to a different audience, or you may be spinning them in a slightly different way that resonates more. And so, there's all kinds of ways to add value. Now, I want to ask you guys, are you worried? One of the big AI experts came out last week in an interview and they said, what businesses are going to be most affected by AI? And one of the ones he said was brokerage firms in any type, insurance, mortgage, et cetera. Within 3 to 5 years, the agents are going to go out and be so effective at finding the best deal that the intermediary businesses like that are going to be challenged. What are your thoughts on that?
So this is the only way that I think it like actually works is it's going to come down to our pocket dollar of like the book. And it's going to be when the banks really figure it out. Now, they've tried to do this in the past with AI and stuff, but let's pretend it's the bank gets it so low that there's no employees involved, so they can cut the rate down by 2%. Either you can go directly to TD, RBC, or hey, you could deal with Alex and I, and our rate's 4%. Well, money is going to talk. That is a significant difference, which is the same with investing yourself. Hey, am I paying a 4% MER, or could I do it by myself? It comes down to the emotional connection, which is where, for myself, I help a lot of business owners actually structuring their companies correctly to help them qualify. So like my business is different. I'm not here just, again, Ron Butler's business is different. He's just getting the cheapest interest rate out there. And those are the ones that to me will be really devastated by it. It's helping people, like I help people with high net worth, construction mortgages. And so I believe it's going to take away from the business, but I also think it's going to increase the business. Hey, I may be able to only help people that do construction mortgages. The AI will never be able to tell them, hey, you need to set this up because you need to make sure all your windows are in. Hey, I need to call your builder and say, hey, sorry, you're not going to get the full 100K today. You're going to get 50 today. And then in a week, you're going to get another 100. That's where like AI is it's going to take over stuff. But for me, the way that I do business, I'm not worried there.
Well, two things. One is if anybody's paying a 4% MER, you've got me panicked. But the second one is as I was listening to you with a very good answer, I realized how much more tanned I look in this particular episode than you guys.
I'm so white.
And I'm not even that tanned. I don't even know what it is. I mean, it's the lighting in here, but I like it.
My lighting's not it's not like the best. I'm
you switched it. It was good.
Yeah, you look very
even
white.
My wife said the same
thing.
Yeah, why is Alex so white?
Yeah, we got to keep this going, Alex. You look white. I look tan. I'm usually the white person.
You looks like you just came back from Hawaii or something.
Yeah, well, I've always got these wild shirts. I buy
it.
them, and yeah, Mo picks them up for me. She orders them for $8 off Amazon, so
Nice.
they usually last about 4 wearings.
Just to finish off my take on it, I agree with Alex. It might weed out all the easy cases, and especially for those the do-it-yourselfers, the ones who want
Right.
to do everything themselves. Sure. I mean, Scotiabank had something called the e-home. I don't know. Is it still around, Alex, or is it?
No,
Probably not.
it shut down because it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work because I think for these kind of complicated situations, people still want to be taken care of. Like,
Right.
I'm part of a business networking group, and AI comes up a lot too about, like, even for lawyers, like, why do I need legal advice when I can just ask ChatGPT? And then some of the feedback I'm getting from people are like, well, ChatGPT will give you the book answer, but it's a lot more complicated based on your situation. And the same thing when it comes to investing. Like, that might segue into the whole, like, do you think Questrade and Wealthsimple has its place when it comes to do-it-yourself investing? What are your thoughts?
It's interesting, going back to your example of lawyers. I must say, I know a lot of people who are using the LLMs for their legal advice now. That's already happening, not a little bit, a lot. And, lawyers are expensive, and they're saying, I'm willing to take the risk that it's less than perfect because of the cost savings. Whether that's a good call or not, I'm not smart enough to pass judgment on, but we're already seeing that come into play. And I think certain professions are going to be very challenged. Can you imagine where AI is in even 12 months? The breakthroughs with Claude coding, especially over the last 6 months, are shocking. And the quality of a lot of the output has gone way up. Now, by the way, it's far from perfect. I'll give you an example about why everybody says artificial general intelligence may already be here. Last week, I went on ChatGPT and I said, can you tell me a little bit about such and such? She was just about to come on to our podcast. It gave me a completely incorrect answer. Listen to this. It said she is co-host of the Wealthy Barber podcast with Dave Chilton. Like, crazy wrong answer. And then that same day, Mo gave it a couple relatively basic personal finance questions. It got one out and out wrong, and the other one, it gave us after tax instead of pre-tax dollars when asked for pre-tax. It's not there yet. And so because there are mistakes, hallucinations, et cetera, it's going to take some time, but the trends are there and it's going to get perfected. People are going to wrap it. You're going to use RAG, you're going to use CAG, and you can see all of this. Like, I wouldn't be astonished if in 5 years, it can handle a lot of the complicated cases Alex was bringing up. And you've got the agents doing a lot of these things. And so it's going to be wild to see where all this goes.
It's going to come down to the money. Like that's where it all talks. And again,
a lot of times it does.
Again, we deal with, sometimes the bank may offer you, Dave, a 0.5% rate better than what I could get. But again, if you like my service for what I'm providing, you might be willing to pay that. But if we're talking, like, let's say for $1 million mortgage, if it's like $30,000-$40,000 a year in interest, like, hey, like that.
I don't like it that much, Alex.
No one's worth that amount of money. And that's where I concede, if they can remove every other thing and cut their cost. And this is where we talked about this last week there, Dave, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. Like, these AIs, like, I think it's going to help and it's going to increase stuff in places, but we're trying to reduce these staffs of, like, all these companies, and they're trying to reduce to bring the profits up. But at the same time, to buy a lot of these stuff, people have to have incomes. And so, I mean, like, I don't know where this down.
No, I mean, if these experts are right, you've got so many people like Peter Diamandis saying that we're going to see, significant unemployment for a while we transition. And to your point, how does that all work? If people don't have incomes, how are they buying the products that are driving these other companies forward? Then people say, we'll bring UBI in. Okay, but where's the tax revenue come from to generate the UBI? All of this is very tricky. And when they talk about abundance, and we're going to all have everything, well, there's still lots of scarce items. Who gets the lakefront property? Who gets the concert tickets? Establishing all of these new kind of approaches, it's going to take a lot of time. And I worry that the speed of change is so rapid now with AI that policy-wise, our institutions, our politicians can't keep up with it. I get it. Every day there's major new developments. It's a bit intimidating. Could it end up being wonderful and lead to solutions and all kinds of creative ideas that can handle some of society's biggest problems? Sure. But getting there is going to be interesting. I think the wealth divide could expand. It's already problematic in society, especially stateside. So I'm more curious. I wish I had all the answers, but I think your basic question about what happens when a lot of people slow down on the income. By the way, a lot of people say to me, Dave, You're too worried about that. That we've always had major technology come in. We've always adapted. It's created more jobs. And that's a fair point. But the speed it's coming in at worries me. The fact that it can improve itself, a tractor couldn't do that. That worries me. And also, if we've taken some of the physical labor jobs and now we've got more service jobs and more white collar jobs, where do we go if white collar gets hit too? We've already taken away the brains, the brawn, et cetera. All of this concerns me. Maybe it all works out fine, but there's legitimate reasons to be somewhat issue. And it's
for me, if everything turns out great and we make it utopian, everyone, we all we go back to when we were lived in a cave. Everyone, we all want to strive for something. Again, we all want this retirement of you want to retire on the beach. That's great for a month. After you just sitting on the beach, you're going to want to do something. And that's where, if our next generation, if they all go into not having jobs, well, what are they going to do? And that's it just scares me for people's mental load. That's honestly,
I agree with you. And addiction and relationships. And, people say, well, we can all get involved in hobbies, et cetera. But to your point, Alex, we want to add value. And for a lot of us, not everybody, we feel we do that through our job and making a positive difference. Maybe we'll end up doing it through volunteer work. Maybe we'll end up finding other outlets for those desires, ways we can add value, feel good about ourselves. But again, it's just going to come so quickly. We can't make all of those changes to our mindsets, our policies, and everything else. I do know this, though. If it turns out we're all unemployed, can you imagine, Alex, the tan that you're going to be able to get? You will be out there finally getting some sun and looking as dark as I am. So that is the one advantage to AI wiping out all employment.
I hide from the sun. I got burnt once when my oldest is 7. We went to Mexico when he was 6 weeks, and we stayed back, and we forgot about the sun reflecting off there and onto the cement. We got just completely destroyed. We burnt our sun a little bit, and from now on, I freaking just hide from the sun. I wear sun shirt. I don't care. I'd rather be white and pasty.
I'm actually kidding you, because I thought it was just the lighting. I'm normally the one with our lighting that looks white, but somehow today, Aiden,
I am this white. I do think the lighting makes it extra.
I was kidding. Aiden got our lighting really well done today. I look tan and ready to rock.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Dave, you mentioned earlier about Dragon's Den. You want to tell us about your experience there? You were on for about 3 seasons, right?
3 seasons. I would say it's one of the few things in life that I would call all positive experience. Oh. Everybody I dealt with there was nice. The pitchers, the CBC people were wonderful, had great relationships with the fellow Dragons. I did a tremendous number of deals, and that really, unfortunately, kind of cut my time down because it overwhelmed me. I was doing my own due diligence. Once you invest in these companies, I invested in 24 total, 23 for-profit and 1 charity. You end up helping a lot of them, and it can swallow up your day. Even though I enjoyed it, I still had other businesses to run, but a great learning experience for sure. I wouldn't change anything. That was a truly wonderful experience in my life.
So educate me. Was Dragon's Den, did they sought you out, or did you want to be I want to be on?
No, I'm not that guy. I'm pretty low key actually, and really kind of stay away from the limelight, for the most part. But they came to me early and talked to me about auditioning, and I didn't go. And I hadn't watched the show in the first couple of years, frankly. And then when Robert Herjavec left the show, they reached out again, and I thought it through and decided it would be a good opportunity. And wow, was it ever? The producers were fantastic, and I learned a lot. You really do. I mean, you're hanging around Jim and Arlene and everybody else. Bruce Croxton and I became very good friends, and you're looking at all these different types of businesses from a variety of angles. And I got some great advice. I mentioned Arlene's tip. Jim said to me the very first day, when they come down the stairs, ask yourself, can they get the meeting? Yeah. And I thought that's a very interesting way to look at it. And I still use that today. As I'm doing all the due diligence on the private company investing I'm doing, I'm always thinking, can this person get the meeting? Can they make something happen?
What do you mean by get the meeting? Did they
can they make something happen? So I'll give you a good,
okay.
No, I mean, they've got a good product, but at some point you've got to get it into a Canadian Tire. You've got to get it in. Can you get that meeting? Can you open that door? Do you have the tenacity, the charisma, the energy to actually make it happen? You're a lot of times you're trying to gauge, do they have grit, as corny as it sounds, because no business ever goes smoothly. In fact, if you look at the biggest successes ever from Dragon's Den, a lot of them didn't even end up doing what they thought they were going to do. They had twists and turns. You look at one that was called the compostable compost bucket, Greenlid. And the 2 brothers, geniuses, and they put this together, and Arlene and I invested in it. Didn't even end up working that well, but they took the material and turned it into forks, knives, and spoons. And the compostable material took off in the fast food business in the States, and the business had a fantastic exit. Do they have that kind of creativity, persistence, resilience, all of those things? In a 15-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute interview, you're trying to gauge all of that. It's not easy. But, you know, you look for little clues here and there. But no, it was a wonderful experience. So was the investing aspect of it. Many of the investments have done well. And I've enjoyed getting to know the pitchers, the entrepreneurs well. We ended up being close friends in many instances. And I don't have a negative word to say about Dragon's Den. And, you know, it's interesting. The CBC takes criticism, you know, parts of the country for sure. But they did a great job with that particular show. And you know where that show had a very positive impact, whether you liked it or didn't? It got a lot of young people interested in business. They grew up watching it and grew up watching Shark Tank. In Canada right now, we are really battling business formation numbers. They are going down. Dragon's Den at least helped to offset that to some extent. We need, by the way, to reverse that trend in Canada. That's one of my biggest concerns in Canada right now are the business formation numbers. We're just seeing more and more people say, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Or to your point earlier, Alex, they're heading stateside, especially in the tech business where they have more available capital. You know, one of the reasons I'm in Waterloo, so of course you get pitched a lot by tech companies. You'll find this very interesting. People think they don't like Canada. They love Canada, most of them. They really do. They're proud young Canadians. They don't even bring up the tax situation much, which is often blamed, the high taxes. They do bring up regulations on occasion. But a lot of times they're leaving because they can't get the talent to stay here because of our cost of living. That's the biggest thing they say to me is, Dave, they can get real estate for half as much in Arizona. Even when you convert from US to Canadian dollars, we can't get them to stay here. We need talent. And you know the second thing that comes up that nobody talks about? The weather. And we can't do anything about that one. But you grew up in Waterloo the last 2 winters, you're living in Waterloo and you're going, I don't want to live in this. And they're thinking, I'm going somewhere a little bit warmer. And again, there's not a lot we can do to fight that. But I think one of the things we have to focus on, again, with business formation and productivity challenges running into is how do we get people excited about the future again in Canada? About having hope, having belief that we're going to be one of the more successful countries in terms of innovation, difference making to people's lives. How do we create that environment again that gets people starting businesses and wanting to invest here? I believe it's possible. I'm still very optimistic about Canada. And I think over the next few years, we may see a mind shift where people go, yeah, that's the place. There's so many good things here that aren't getting enough attention. Everything's so politicized now, left versus right, right versus left. But there are a lot of great things here. We just need to harness them better.
Stay away from Vancouver Island. You guys don't need to come here. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
I love Vancouver Island.
That's one market that's everywhere. Doing well.
Yeah, I've spoken everywhere out there, and I love it. I've spoken in all of those communities many times. I think I've spoken in Campbell River 5, 6, 7 times. I've spoken at the Empress probably 30 times in my career. You know, I love it out there, and the people are wonderful.
It's awesome. That's where we're getting lots of like Vancouver people that are selling $2 million, $3 million home, and they're coming here. And so like, this is where you can go skiing, golf, and surfing all in one day if you want. Like it's like
marvelous.
There is not much better places out there.
I remember the first time I ever spoke in Victoria was 1990, and I showed up, and the average age of the crowd was deceased.
Okay.
And I wrote a book for 20 to 45-year-olds, and everybody that came to see me speak that night was 90 to 110 years old. And so I joked with the audience. I said, I'm not sure what to tell you at this point. If you haven't done these things, you're in big trouble. And we made all kinds of jokes like that, but they didn't hear me anyway. So it was absolutely fine. But I've enjoyed immensely coming out there. And in general, BC has treated me so well. I've spoken there hundreds of times over the years. And everywhere I go, I've really enjoyed it immensely, from Prince George to the island to White Rock, which is a place I've spoken a lot, to the interior. It's all been fantastic. Career highlights really have been a lot of my trips to BC.
Nice. Dave, one thing that when you mentioned about how we need to encourage businesses in Canada, you know, like from a zoom out view, although right now our real estate market's not doing so well, which affects me and Alex's business, which is not great. But the grand scheme of things, that might be good because
I agree.
As Canadians, we're too ingrained in real estate as a wealth generating thing. You know, like people before would start businesses, but instead, I'd rather just put the money down on a pre-sale. Because, or buy a pre-sale in a year or two. I can flip it for, 50, 100, 200 grand more. And
you are so right. And that did not get enough attention as being a part of our problem.
We're too
is
reliant
that
on real
people
estate.
turn to investing in real estate and away from investing in enterprise.
Yes.
And, you're seeing more economists talk about this. In fact, there was a video that came out yesterday, about Canada and a warning. And one of the things they brought up was that we made real estate too big a focus. I've always said a strong real estate market needs to be the result of a strong economy, not the cause of a strong
100%.
economy.
We
If
are
it's
not
the latter,
productive in housing.
yeah, you're going to run into trouble eventually. And of course, we have now. But you're right. I mean, the softening real estate market, the downward trend in prices in many areas, maybe not good for the two Alexes, but it's making things more affordable for the younger generation. And it's maybe making people think a little bit more about going different routes with their money. So that could be a positive.
Exactly. It's kind of like disincentivizing real estate as a way of, I mean, it's a long-term wealth, but not a get-rich-quick kind of thing. Like we need to kind of, it's almost like taking it out of our culture, like so to speak, like hockey's in our blood. It's real estate somehow is second to hockey. And
I've said all these exact things that I've even said real estate past hockey at one point as being the hobby, the nation's hobby, the nation's passion was real estate. And you mentioned, the pre-construction condos and the madness that we saw there, especially in Vancouver and Toronto. And of course, unfortunately now, a lot of pain being felt by a lot of people, including some people I know very, very well. Do you guys follow Steve Saretsky out there at all?
We do. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Steve's got some great stuff as well. And, is very much in tune with a lot of this. And I think he's a good guy for you to keep an eye on for sure.
And that's like, let's talk about like the thing that when I sit with clients, I had spoke with someone yesterday there, Dave, especially when you're buying in like the Vancouver area, I always ask them like, hey, what are you paying in rent? And this couple were lucky. They had a long-term secured rental at $1,500 a month. Wow. I showed them their budget. They're like, we want to buy a condo around $600K. I said, all right, guys, if you put even down 10%, your monthly budget is going to increase by $2,400. And they're like, whoa. And I'm like, I in good conscience cannot tell you to go buy this place. I would say let's pretend, go invest $2,400 for the next 15 years. You are going to be so much better off than owning that house or that condo. But people just have it fixated. And again, if maybe they were in an unsecured rental, of course, you got to play on that. But to me, like anytime I sit with someone, like I love real estate, it's made me wealthy and it is part of my business. But I'm trying to sit to people and say, hey, I don't think you should buy it. Like that to me, it has to make sense.
It has to make sense. I mean, in a lot of cases it does. And I mean, I'm very pro home ownership in terms of lifestyle and the fact that most people very much desire it, especially people who are planning on having kids. But your point, your example is a very good one. We see tons of examples like that in California, where in certain areas they had rent control, but the prices, despite the income not being high coming in from the rents, continue to go up dramatically. You couldn't make any sense out of buying in some of those. No matter how many assumptions you tried to alter, it didn't make sense to buy over rent in certain locales. And your example is a very good one too. So Ben Felix, again, has shone a light on that lately. I know though, online, if I bring up in anything that rent may be a prudent move, I get hammered. I get absolutely hammered by people. They're saying, you're nuts. You've always got to own. Rent is throwing your money away. And so it's one that's a very sensitive area to get into. I'm glad that you were the one that brought it up here, Alex, and not me. You can take the heat on this podcast.
That's what I love is financial, like dealing with financial advisors and stuff. It's finding people that also understand that, hey, is investing going to be the best thing or is real estate? It's not a one size, like some people are wealthy because of investing. Some people are wealthy because of real estate. There is no clear winner. You cannot say that real estate is better than investing. It's more figuring out what you're going to be consistent at. And that's where, for me, it's basic finances. What your book is very good at talking about is doing the basic hard things. And most people can't do that. That's really what I've realized. So with a lot of people, hey, maybe they've been saving their down payment. They'll have $100K saved. And then I see their debts and I'm like, you have 20,000 of unsecured debt. Oh, I've been saving for my down payment. No. We're paying that debt off today.
Yeah.
Like that's 22% interest just gone, but it mentally, they don't understand it.
Well, you're making a lot of wonderful points. And we do see that in Canada a lot where people have money in short-term savings vehicles, let's say for a down payment earning 1%, 2%, and 3%, fully taxable. Simultaneously, they have credit card debt at 20%. It makes no sense whatsoever. They've put the money into different buckets mentally, but it's fungible. And you have to realize that you're best to pay that down. And again, your point echoes mine earlier. We've seen some people do a good job saving, but offset some of it with the debts they've been rolling up on the other side. And in that, we didn't see as much of that 25 and 35 years ago because life was less expensive relative to incomes, but also credit wasn't so ubiquitously available. So no, you're right. Every circumstance is different. People have to think this through. It's one of the reasons why that the Wealthy Barber, but I think almost everybody out there is really pushing automate as much of this as you can. Let's take human nature out of play. So when we talked all those days ago about pre-authorized checking, getting it out of that bank account, well, look at all the research, as I said earlier, says it's even more important than I thought it was. That the people who handle their money well tend to automate all these, take emotions out of play, and do all of those types of things. I mean, I have friends now who have credit cards, and one of them will have a very low limit. And that's the only one they take with them when they go to certain places. That way they know they can't overspend and do something foolish. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, know thyself. Absolutely. I mean, I still use a lot of cash. I'm one of the only people I know who uses a lot of cash. So all of these little things matter. You know, I've been thrilled in the book, chapter 9, which is on saving tips that Roy and a couple other the store visitors bring over, the shop visitors. That chapter is going over as well as any in the book. In fact, it's getting as much attention as the ones on compounding, pay yourself first, etc. And that's 30 years, 35 years of watching what works for people and what doesn't work, and the little specifics of how they had to apply it. And that's the only thing I've written in my entire career that when I tested it, nobody really suggested changes. Everybody went, yeah, I'm getting that. That really helps me to think it through differently. That chapter, I'm really glad how well it's resonating and the changes it's leading to.
Awesome. Well, Dave, I know we're running short on time. We want to respect yours. I have one fun question if you have time.
Go ahead.
So you're a man with means, you know, a celebrity. And this question was asked to Shaq, you know, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes, of course. I'm not so old, I don't know who Shaq is. What's wrong with you?
Funny story. I've actually met him in person. So back when we had the Grizzlies and in the 90s.
You probably.
Oh yeah. Geez, 7'6". I'm 5'8". Anyways, the story. He was asked, you know, I think on Fallon or other shows about when it comes to wealth and the children. And, you know, depending on certain wealthy people, it's our money. But Shaquille O'Neal says, it's not your money. Oh, I'm gonna say in Shaquille's voice, like, it's not your money. This is my money. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, how would you treat your wealth when it comes to your children? Is it our money or is it my money or entitlement, that kind of thing?
Probably like most, I'm somewhere in the middle. My kids are interesting. They don't ask for much. You know, they really don't. They kind of like being on their own and being independent, but certainly with real estate prices where they are, like most parents, you're probably looking to help a little bit here and there. I mean, they're going to inherit, you know, some of it obviously when I die. They have tried to kill me on multiple occasions. And I find that interesting. And they're fortunately not very adept at it. But I kind of would be in the middle. Like, I'd like to help out a little bit, but you don't want to go too far, certainly. And you don't want to ever go so far that they don't want it, et cetera. All those are different balances. I heard that interview, by the way. And what I found interesting about it was he was dead serious. So even though he uses a lot of humor, you could see that he meant it, that that's his money. And he'll give it to you if he wants to, when he wants to, et cetera. And then I have other friends who think of it all as family wealth, with their logic being, for me to have done well, sacrifices were made for everybody. I worked very long hours. I took risks. There was prices to be paid by everybody, and therefore we're all going to share in the spoils. That argument makes some sense too. So again, I think it's very much an individual call. I do joke though, when I bought a copy of the book Die With Zero, my daughter threw it out before I had an opportunity to read it. Yeah, she just chucked it right in the garbage.
That's awesome. Well, Dave, thank you for your time. I mean, where can we find you? If most people don't know, where can they find you these days?
All of our stuff is at the Wealthy Barber. So anything we do in the Wealthy Barber podcast, it's all under that same brand. And again, we don't take advertising or do any selling of anything. You're just coming there and getting information, hopefully trying to learn and grow your personal finances. We do everything from retirement planning to our RDSPs to RESPs. We're trying to help on all fronts.
Awesome. Yeah. So I just want to plug the Wealthy Barber as well. Like, you can do the traditional book that you can buy on the wealthybarber.com. Myself, I am not a great reader, so I downloaded the audiobook and I listened to it in my car, working out and everything, and done in 3 days. Alex couldn't do it, but I could do it. But yeah,
I was actually really glad that you did that, because we put a lot of work into that audiobook. You know, when you do it on a novel as opposed to a normal read, it's a lot. And you have to redo a lot, and you have to go back in the studio. And we decided to take it seriously. We hired the best of the studios and we did it. And it's going over really well. In fact, on our corporate sales, we're getting more audiobook sales than physical book. a lot of the companies are saying, we don't want to pass out physical books. That's a hassle. Just send us the audiobooks so we can get it. So I'm glad that you actually did that, and I hope you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I have to plug you on your cadence when you're reading it. Most of the time when I'm reading, listening to audiobooks, whoever's reading it is god-awful slow. I had to speed it up like 20, 30%. The way your cadence and your speed, I just kept it at normal because you read it at the regular speed that I can process to.
Yeah,
now,
thank
Alex,
you.
I think he can go 50 or 2 times. I can't handle it, but yeah, you were good. I'm like, hey, that's Dave actually talking, not someone else. So kudos
Yeah,
to
no,
you
I did all the reading, and I enjoyed it. Like, it was fun putting together, but it's tiring putting together an audiobook. Like, you go in there and you're doing the corrections and everything else. It was a lot.
Or
anyway, guys,
take, right?
Oh yeah, they'll say no, you mispronounced that or whatever, and you're like,
or your energy wasn't good on that. You kind of slurred that one. You kind of went through it too quickly. You got to bring some energy when you're talking, as if you're talking to somebody, right?
It's all true. You're drinking a lot of Diet Pepsi, no doubt about it.
Don't worry,
No
AI's
doubt
got
about
your voice now, Dave. You will, when you upgrade your book in another 30 years, you'll be good to go. AI's got it.
If I update my book again, don't read it. It's going to be gibberish, okay? I'm an old man. If I come back in another 36 years, do not listen to that book. Anyway, guys, I really enjoyed it. You seem like nice young men. You really do, and nothing but the best. I hope the Lions beat the Seahawks in the NFC Championship next year.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
so much for coming on.
Much, Dave. I appreciate it, folks. This has been David Chilton from the Wealthy Barber. We will see you next time.
Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow us. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can even send us an email because we want to know what you guys want to hear about. That's what we're here for. Reach out anytime.